Yeah, no, that was rubbish. Sorry about that. Stop! Stop! Make it stop! Hello! Do let me know that you can hear me in both the comments. In both the comments? In the comments. That would be great. And then we'll get started. No point hanging around, messing about. And just messing about. Just give me a moment. I'll think of it in a minute, and I'll be right with you. I'll be right with you. Do let me know, as I say, that you can hear me. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So that I'm just trying to get the comments up. If I can't read the comments, I can't know that you can hear me. Oh, an advert. Just beautiful. So where are we? Can hear you fine. Great, Mr. Mac. Thank you, Mrs. Mac. That's awesome. Tom, good to see you. I understand this is your first time. You're very welcome. Everyone's very well. Oh, a fascinating advert about Gaviscon. I hope you got to enjoy that. Good. Sound Vision working. Good. Yes. Yeah, no, Animo doesn't sound that great on an iPhone all by itself, to be told. Truth be told, just a moment, I'm going to adjust the microphone. Just a little bit. Come on. Oh, God. Does anyone else, right, have an AKG C3000 in an H100 cradle? I've had this thing for 20 years, I think, and I hate it. I hate that cradle. It drives me nuts. Every time I pick it up, it's in pieces. It's falling apart. It's dangling around. And I just followed a video again this evening in order to put it back together, and it is just hanging in there by the finest thread. So hopefully I just have to find another way to hang a C3000. I think that's the answer. So, hello, if you are new, you're very welcome here. The plan for this evening is basically I talk like crazy about gear, about synths, about a bit of modular. Hopefully we'll play some music. I might drink a few tins of stuff, and we'll chat, interact with each other through the chat in that weird time delay way that we do a bit of that. The plan for this evening is to talk about perhaps the best things of the year, although in some ways I'm not sure I can be that bothered. I'd rather sort of drag my thing out of the case and make some music. Maybe we'll do that. Play with some modules. Don't know. We'll ease into it. It's a bit chilly in here because I haven't been... Is that on? I need to turn that up. Just turning my heater up. So yeah, so I'm trying to keep myself a little bit more warm. So that's how the evening will go. I should think for next hour, possibly two. We'll chat about stuff, and just you're welcome to ask me questions or interact or shout at me and stuff. I tend to be a little bit sarcastic, perhaps a little bit cheeky. And I don't mean anything by it. You're very welcome to ask any question you like, and I may scoff at you. It's just the way of things, and I mean it in a lovely, nice way. Now, I do have some new things to play with potentially as well. The build up to this particular live stream is simply that I've been kind of busy this weekend because my wife unfortunately has caught COVID on Friday, and so I've kind of got a lot of things up in the air in sorting that out and keeping everything going and getting the kids to bed and sorted out and all those sorts of things. All good stuff. But I'm a little bit less prepared. I would have liked to have spent a bit of time setting something up. Matt! Wow! Thanks, that's stunning, mate. You're awesome. You are awesome. Now, what I would like to do is sit here and talk about Dune, both the game and the film. But I think that's going off topic a little bit. But we'll have to do that another time, because I've always been fascinated by your view on that. Young man. It's interesting watching that on Twitter unfold. If you want my sort of too long didn't read synopsis of the Dune movie, it is, I put it on a parallel with Blade Runner without the voiceover. In as much as watching Blade Runner without the voiceover, in my head I have the voiceover, and so that I actually know everything and understand everything that's going on because it's being explained to me by Harrison Ford in the voiceover. And then the director's cut came along and they took the voiceover out, and you could still watch it because you still had that inner monologue going on, whereas newcomers to Blade Runner were probably going, what is this about? The Dune movie was exactly the same. I had the David Lynch monologues going on in my head the entire time, and so it was like a cover version. That's what it felt like. It felt like a cover version. It was beautiful, cinematic, awesome, great visualizations. Loved it. Thought, yeah, what a great thing. But there's no way, I don't believe, that anyone would have understood it if they hadn't already seen the other movie or read the books, you know. But so yeah, that's generally my take. But I've got a lot more bigger, more interesting thoughts on that. But that's not what this evening is about. This evening is about, what is it about? Oh, it's about talking about awesome products that we've seen this year. And also, as I say, I'm getting more and more into the idea of just making some music and saying sod it to all the we'll try a bit. Anyway, let's say hello to a few people. Matt, that's fantastic. Good to see you. I can't wait to get to the West Coast at some point and get together. That would be great. We should do that at some point. Must happen. Steph, he says, I mentioned the TZ recently. I did. Yes, I have one. I'm planning to do a video on zero through zero. I don't know, one or the other. It's something to do with through zeroing, going through something. This is one of these things I would like to find out more about. And so in doing so, we'll discover what all that means. It's something to do with frequency modulation, I believe, and pushing waveforms through the 0 point into the negative space. And then you have negative space audio frequency modulated signals, which is superb. So I'm really interested by what the heck any of that is, and so I want to do a video on it. Coming soon, but I haven't had the time to play on it. Similarly, I had the Cosmotronic Vortex as well to play with, which was great, but I fiddled with it, did a couple of little demos, fiddled with it, haven't really had the time to sit down with it, and then so I lent it away to somebody else to make a video, and hopefully it's coming back, probably back after Christmas, I should think, and I'll have another crack at it, because I can't always. Sometimes you don't immediately understand something, so it's hard to do a module on something you don't immediately get the hang of. And it's a question of, because I write reviews, I'm not just trying to do it's a bit like this and do a walkthrough of my stumbling through it. Although I do that often too. I like to really try to grasp something before I throw it on video, mostly. Anyway, so yes, I can and I will at some point. Do I have Toto and EO? Yes, absolutely. Native VS, yes, absolutely. The Hans Zimmer score was absolutely, it was appropriate, completely appropriate. And my wife sitting next to me as we watched it was going, wow, the sound was just amazing. And it was, but it was also instantly forgettable. And that's not right. Whereas the Toto score, you can't, it's unforgettable in every way. And in some ways that's the sad thing about talking about the new Dune movie, is because it's brilliant, but the more I talk about it, the worse it gets. And in some ways I kind of want to leave it there as, wow, that was brilliant, I can't wait to the next part. And I can't wait to the next part. But I end up picking so many holes in it that it starts getting a little bit sad. And where's Sting? Where's the man in his underpants? That's what we need to know. Where is the guy? And my favourite line from the whole thing which is I Am the Shut Up Mapes, which is just fantastic by a little mousy lady. That was not capitalized on, I think, at all. I must grip it tightly. Now there's so much. Anyway, yes, try not to get distracted. Try not to get distracted. Infinite Machinery, hi. One day, right, I'm now almost putting the sockets, the IC sockets onto the voice cards. I'm nearly there. I'm halfway through the capacitors. I did it the other day. On Friday, on my birthday, I treated myself to doing some capacitors on the voice cards of the Deckard's Dream. So I'm nearly to the point of putting those very, very kindly donated oscillators of yours onto those voice cards. Not far away now. Although I should say that it was a year ago that I did the first voice card. At least that's what Facebook tells me. So that's a little bit sobering. But still. Hi, Benjamin. Hi, Nick. Good to see you. Come out for NAMM. Yes, come out for NAMM. Well, I mean, if okay, we'll put this out there. If somebody would like me to be, on their stand for 5 minutes a day over NAMM and wants to pay for me to stay in the Anaheim Hotel, the Hilton, opposite, that would be awesome. I'd happily do a little bit of work for flights and accommodation. I'll happily do that. I'll do a demo or something if you like, probably, But as a VIP, I think I should really choose to do as little as possible. So if somebody would like that to happen, then do it. Then do it. When is it? Aren't they combining NAMMs? I don't know. I haven't looked into that. But if everybody knows the NAMM stuff that's happening this year, then do let me know. Tanuki, good to see you. No, you're not alone at all. Excuse me, I just need to blow my nose. You're not alone at all. There's a lot of umbling and ahhing about the Dune movie. I think a lot of us just don't want it to feel... Excuse me. A lot of us don't want it to feel anything other than awesome. So we temper our criticism of it because, I don't think you can argue that the look and the feel of the film was anything but breathtaking. It was superb. When you get down to the content and the storytelling and the choices that they made in that's a whole different story, I think. Andrew, good to see you. El Nini, good to see you too. Gary, he's in there. Lots of people. One grey dot, nice. Good to see you. I'm just trying to catch up a little bit now. Hey, good. Skull Drazer, yeah, you're late. You've missed all the good stuff. So, let's do a little bit, before just time runs away with us, let's do a little bit of gear that we like. So by all means, think of this year's gear. I'm just going to check through the lists I did for each monthly, and I'll pick one out from each month, and we'll just have a chat about it. Had I had more preparation, I could have sorted out a web browser to throw up on the screen and things like that. So you're just going to have to imagine, or you can Google it yourself as we talk about it. Look, I could look it up on my phone, right, and then go like that. That's lo-fi. Yeah, totally. Anyway, so I haven't looked at anything. I haven't pre-prepared, so I'm going to stun myself by having a look at what did we have January. This is, by the way, crafted in London, apparently, for Pure Brewing. Tropical, hoppy, drinkable. It's always good, no? Drinkable. It's called For Pure. From Bermondsey. I used to live near Bermondsey. Well, sort of in that part of South London. Went all over South London, I was. All over. Gradually working your way east. You start off in sort of southwest London. You start off with aspirations and, thinking you're going to slowly earn more money and so therefore can afford to stay in Putney. And then, before you know it, you're sleeping on floors. No, sleeping on floors, sleeping on couches in Putney. And then you gradually move east. As things get expensive. So, Well, we had a bit of NAMM, obviously, in January. Things like all the Korg stuff came up. Things like the Mod Wave, the Mini Korg. Mini Korg has only just reached people who do reviews. Not me, sadly. They gave me my one shot with the Mod Wave, I think, which was cool. I really enjoyed that. But I haven't done any more since. But we've seen the Mini Korg 700FS come out recently, and also their Mini ARP 2600M that a few people have had. I've seen that knocking around. Nice. The Wave State, a new version of. Haven't seen that come through yet. And the Drum Log. Haven't seen high on a hair of that either. So I think, well, everybody has been suffering from the component shortage and general pandemic shenanigans. So I just need to put this in part of the screen so I can still see the chat. Is that going to work? Yes! All right, good. All right, let's close that bit down. Oh, don't flash, don't flash. What are you doing? Come on, you're Windows 11. Ah, don't flash at me. That's weird. What are you doing? Don't you like that? Don't think you like that. Okay. All right, something strange there. Not going to dwell on it. No, Gary, no. Sampled guitar? What are you talking about? No. Yeah, you're still living in Battersea, man. I mean, Battersea has been up and coming for about 50 years, isn't it? It's always on the rise, Battersea is. Damien, hi. Dublin. Have I tried any I/O instruments gear? No, I haven't. They're the blue ones, aren't they? Haven't they released a really sort of overly intense... because they were knocking around over 2020. They were popping up in live streams and the virtual synth meets and stuff that we had, and they looked like they had some interesting ideas, but which appeared to be a lot of stuff going on within a module, which seemed very complicated and not very well explained. That was I think if they're the right people that I'm thinking of, that's where I've got with I/O instruments so far. Isotropous. See, you come in here with your spangly names, trying to trip me up. Isotroposphere. Welcome. So there was some good Korg stuff. Behringer had the grey and the blue Marvin, grey Mini, blue Marvin. They had those 2600s out in January. I've seen quite a few people have got to pick those up. You know, there's been some good demos of those. There was a Kurtzloh 2700. Can you believe there was actually a successor to the 2500? That was nuts. IK brought out the Uno Synth Pro. Am I going to be reading these all out for every month? That seems like it's going to take a long time. So let me scan through it, pull out a product and talk about that. So, Grisham Gain, British Noise Electronics. And the Wavephonics Poly 8. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, well, for me then it'd have to be the grit filter. Aha! It's in my rig, which is down here on the floor in its case. So yeah, so January, my favourite thing of January 2021 will be the British Noise Electronics Grit. British Noise Electronics appeared in January, I think it was. It's the first we heard of them. They came out with two modules, Grit, which is a filter, and Gain, which is an amplifier. I don't know, some kind of thing. Anyway, their vibe is very much trying to give an impression of sort of Neve styling, trying to give an impression of classic British engineering. How much of that is actually true behind the scenes, I have no idea, but the impression is certainly good, and it appeals to me. And the grit filter is awesome. It has a couple of levels of overdrive in it. You can overdrive the input, which gives this lovely warm LED. It's not a valve, unfortunately, but a little warm LED lights up behind it. And then you've got the grit function, which piles on even more saturation. That's a separate button to engage that. So you've got, it's kind of like it has a crunch to it, and then it has a more crunch to it, which is delicious. It really pumps something up in the mix, and in some ways it gets a little bit too tempting to do that all the time. It also has 2 FM inputs, so you can mess about with that cut off really well, and it screams and screeches when you pump up that resonance. So as far as filters go in a long while, that is fantastic. I really like it. It's interesting when I'm working with it in a case. I don't find it quite as responsive to what I'm trying to do as the Jove filter. The Jove filter still makes itself my first choice in most respects, because it just pumps in the way that I expect a filter to, whereas many other filters don't really, and I find it much harder to dial in exactly what it is I'm trying to do, because I don't really know what it is I'm trying to do. I just know that there's this sound that I can get with ease on the Jove, which is more difficult on other filters. But it's also one of those things that the more time I spend trying to craft a sound with a filter, the less I like it. I like to put something through a filter and just go, and it has to be there. It has to be there. If I have to keep filling with it, it'll end up not sounding quite right, and I'll be sticking in more envelopes and more of this and more of that, trying to get it to do the basic thing I'm after. So that, I think, would be January. I'm going to pause to let you think on that. Now, I don't need to see myself, so I won't pop out the chat. But then it goes over there. If I can get rid of that, then I can put that. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Oh, I need to do this. Stand by. Hang on. No. Oh, go on. All right, put that. No, just putting that over there. Don't you pop out in a crazy way. Good, right. Yeah, hi. So anyway, I'll keep on going, is it? So that was January. February. Let me have a quick scan through this. We had things like the Make Noise Striger. We had a Polymode from Cherry Audio. We had the Barillo Kyobra, which is one of my favourite. Again, it's in my other case modules. Excuse me. The Jumble Henge. See, that was nice. I liked that. Erica Synths Joystick. The Metropolix Waveform. Free. Mutable Beads. Oh, well, this is a tricky one. So, best one from February. I suppose it has to be Beads, doesn't it? It has to be. I mean, Beads was the long-awaited update to Clouds, of course, and in some ways it's been fascinating. Sort of listening to Mutable Instruments and listening to Emily and how that's come along. The development, the struggles with trying to do a sequel to one of the most loved Eurorack modules of all time. How do you do that? How do you put that together? And I think that has been quite interesting, quite traumatic. And there was a time there when we thought it was never going to happen, but it did, and it's awesome. Yeah, no, it is. It's awesome enough to the point that I can actually use it. I can now get something out of it that was almost intended. With Clouds, I don't know, I was just swimming around in some kind of cytoplasm thinking, I don't know what this is about. I don't know why people like it. Oh, look, there's a reverb. Okay, I can understand that. The rest of it, I don't know. But it's granular, isn't it? There's a lot of granular about, and granular doesn't really resonate with me particularly. I find it sort of sharp and glassy. It's kind of like, because like Wavetable is similar in that I find Wavetable to generally be just a little bit screechy. And I tend to have to work quite hard to get it into that warmer, fatter kind of vibe that I personally enjoy. I mean, it's better in bigger pads and in bigger sounds because you've got more going on that allows stuff to wrap around. But individual waveforms within wavetables tend to be a thing that I'm not particularly into, and granular tends to, in my simplistic view, sort of takes that idea and just screeches it even more. So when it came to beads, that's kind of what I found, but it has a character to it and a charm to it. The way the workflow is not the right word, but the way you can dial in different things and things start to happen, that's really very interesting. So it's not just granulizing, it seems to be sort of pulling and pushing and looping and then shifting and doing other things. And I've actually found that I'm able to grasp some of that. So, it's been good. I mean, I did sell the clouds originally a couple of years ago, and I decided that I'd give it another try via the beads just to see whether I can get something out of it. And it's interesting because it's in my performance case, which we might get to. And what I'm finding with that, and also with the Qubit data bender as well, is that it's a difficult effect to just run stuff through. It's almost as if that needs to be the whole thing. So you can't have a whole load of stuff going on and then route something through the beads or the data bender, because it doesn't seem to make any sense. Whereas you can make an entire patch out of just some things running through that one module, and then that becomes interesting. But I mean, it all comes down to practice and learning, doesn't it? But that would be my choice for February. It also gave us DivKid back briefly for a video, which was awesome. Which was great. I mean, he's around a bit now, but he's still not fully engaged, I don't think. So it's interesting to see what he's going to come up with next. But it was a little flash just to say to us, hey, I'm all right. And we go, we thought we'd lost you, fella. So that was good to see. Rope, hi. Okay, two quick, super fast, easy to answer questions. One, he'd love to hear me discuss building a generative modular system. I mean, that's a whole video really. I've done a couple of videos on Krell patches, which are essentially generative. I mean, I've never particularly seen that as a goal myself, is to build a machine that's just making its own sound. I much prefer to play with it, shape it, and part of the shaping is the musical input as well as just the tonal inputs, I find. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. And is it worth investing in a DC coupled module? Yeah, definitely. I think hybriding a system, crossing the bridge between modular and your DAW is good. Yeah, worthwhile. It certainly gives you a much broader place to play, but that's not always what you want. Sometimes you want to keep it contained. And I think as soon as you connect a computer to this situation, it loses all containment because it can go in every direction. But it's certainly an interesting thing to play with. Plus, one of the plus sides of it is that you can sit down for an afternoon and play with it, and then you can save what you did to some degree. You can save a project in Ableton so that you can come back to it another time. And the modules may have changed, but at least the basis of what you're experimenting with remained the same. So I think it's a very, very cool thing. Do. Okay, yeah, good. No, you're all talking sense to me, more or less. Andrew, hey. Yeah, yeah. Family, eh? Ah, they'll be the death of us, I imagine. So let's move on to March, because it's already been half an hour. Core blimey, governor. So March, we saw things like, oh, we, what is that? I don't know. We saw the Oberheim TVS Pro Special Edition. That means that's essentially that Oberheim got their name back. So that was in March. That was interesting. We also heard that Steinberg are going to be ditching the dongle. Was that really in March? I thought that was a recent thing, because they've talked about Cubase 12 and reimagining the world, and how apparently there's a way of doing software that doesn't require a dongle, right? And Steinberg have just invented a way of doing the whole recording software thing without the need of a dongle. It's extraordinary times that we live in, and we're going to be seeing that in Cubase 12. Crazy town. I don't remember any of these products on this list. Pittsburgh Safari. It was one of their weird little small runs of modules. They seem to be in this idea of working towards something like a new Lifeforms. And they're trying out lots of different ideas and then releasing them as little modules, but only for a limited period before then moving on. So there's been a flower shop thing. There's been some safari, something to do with a giraffe. So yeah, interesting things. It's fascinating to know what they're actually going to come up with at the end of all of that. We got the Cherry Audio 8 voice. The Ruina Versio from Noise Engineering. Was this their first? No, this was the Distortion, wasn't it, I think? Traction Hyperion. Oh, that one maybe. Yeah. I mean, Arthur Jolly did bring up his Rico drum. I mean, that's always good. Anything by Mr. Jolly is good by me. But yeah, Hyperion, which was this piece of software, which was quite remarkable. It is very much a modular type software, but kind of done in a non-Eurorack way. So it was modular by using things like nodes. It's kind of like a computerized modular system. So rather than seeing it as a Eurorack way of doing things, it's very much a digital environment in which you use nodes and controllers and bits and pieces. Although you are still wiring up, VCOs to filters to other bits and pieces. It just had a look a bit more like early Reactor, for instance, but it was easy. It was easy to use. You could see what was going on. You could patch in modulation very simply. You could create sounds, and it was great. The front end was a bit kind of, it looks really complicated, but it wasn't once you got under the surface. And actually, you could construct these layers of sound, which were quite extraordinary. The presets in them were brilliant. It really worked hard, and it had a very 80s flavour. It had a very sort of M1 Corgi flavour to it, which I liked. Yeah, it was very familiar sounding, but then there were some big paddy sounds in there too. Yeah, it was great. Really, really good, and has a lot of potential, I think. It's probably even moved on a long while since I looked at it. But I did a review for Sound on Sound and really enjoyed playing with that. So that is my pick for March. Traction is not by Traction, but Traction kind of look after a number of synths, and that's one of the ones they look after. It's called Hyperion. Hyperion? I can't remember. But then not pronouncing things right is my thing. Darius, hi. How is it in obscurity? Yeah, the Animoog, I think, Christo, is a great piece of work. Great piece of work. Digital crickets. That's thought-provoking. That you should put that in a meme somewhere. The rig behind me, Christo, yeah, well, this is actually bits and pieces. because I've moved everything. Oh, it's starting to rain now. Sorry about that. Moved everything into a case which is in a bag on the floor, which I'll get out in a bit. So I've kind of got odds and sods. So I need to spend a little bit of time on all of this, and up here that you can't actually. Look, the devastation of my orange case is a disaster. So I've got to spend a bit of time crafting what's left, because I have plenty left. I have too much, and my thought processes at the moment is to keep working, keep massaging the performance rig, changing things, adjusting things to try to get it to be a system I can reliably do a 20-minute performance on, and everything else is going to just be available for fun, for patching, for ideas. The Descartes voice is always going to sound brilliant with the M185, superb, and play with that stuff differently to the performance rig. Does that make sense? Oh, who has the time for any of it? Who am I kidding? Yes, you can hear rain. Yeah, it will. We'll keep the roosters indoors. Don't 2HP do a bell? I think they do. I think you do. No, I'm in a shed, mate. It's just a shed, a wooden shed. I've insulated it as best I can. And at the moment, we've had a lot of rain recently, and I found a new leak. The new leak is right there. Well, I mean, I don't know that the leak is there, but that's where it manifests. And so I've got a couple of dodgy pieces of wood and a ice cream tub screwed above my head. So if it rains enough, that will fill with water and then fall on me. So that's awesome. So that's March. April. The Moog Sound Studio. Ooh. A bit of Endorphin. Never saw the Soma Labs Cosmos. Bits and pieces. AM Synths Prague, haven't seen that yet either. Modular, yeah, quite enjoyed that. I've got, isn't that this over here? I think it's this sort of thing, isn't it? I think so. This is a MIDI controller. It's a lovely little MIDI controller that I have not yet sat down and spent any time with. Isn't that just a story of my life? But it's a great little thing. And I want to find a really cool use for it. It just plugs in, controls MIDI. I need it set up better in front of my computer somewhere. It's just, all the things, all the stuff. That would be great. So I need to spend some time with that. Give me another lifetime, somebody. What else do we have? Erica Synth filters, virtual voltage modular, object number 5, yeah, Pigments 3, Multiphonics from Applied Acoustics, Sisters with Transistors video, awesome, and Muff Wiggler turned itself into Mod Wiggler. So there's some highlights from April. Favourite thing? Probably the Moog Sound Studio. I mean, it wasn't anything that was new. It was just that they put a couple of things together in a most beautiful piece of packaging that you've ever seen. The box was beautiful. The packaging within the box was beautiful. The way they put it together was beautiful. The fact that it came with all the cables that you needed. It came with a lovely little mixer. Simple. Just a simple mixer so you could hear both of the Moog boxes at the same time. My one came with a Mother 32 and a DFAM, and so you've got 3 channels on this mixer, so you can add another thing to it, making it a 3-tier. But this is a 2-tier one. 3 tiers came later for the Subharmonicon, but just the care with which it was put together just was astounding. Came with a patch book that gave you visual patches, exactly what you had to do in order to get particular sounds out of it. It's just an inspired piece of product design, if you like. Using things that existed, but packaging them in such a way to make it a beautiful synthesizer experience for anyone who wanted to have a go. Just really, really nice. You know, so often a music shop will sell you a synth, or you buy one online, and it just comes as it is. And you need to have, how am I going to hear? I've got headphones, right, okay, yeah. But then I'm going to need this cable or that cable. How am I going to get it to sound with something else? You know, there's a lot of, once you've made a purchase in our little synth world, there's a lot of other paraphernalia surrounding it in order to get it to make any sort of sound or connection to other things. Whereas sort of Moog curated this 2-tier and now 3-tier sound studio in such a way for it to be all that you would need to create a bass line and some drums, or some weird sounds and some percussion. Just really brilliantly put together. You know, they didn't have to do that. People can work it out for themselves, but it's such a mature thing to do, I would say. It always sounds worse in here. Cool, right, so that's April. Excuse me, May. May, we had the remarkably weird and peculiar, never seen in real life, don't know really what it is, Cicada acoustic synthesizer. The Center wavetable module, don't remember that. Music Thing mini drive, that's very, very cool. Neutral Labs Normal, which I still haven't built, sitting over there. Mosaic brought their 1U tiles. All right, let's talk about that. Cause anything else down there that's really going to grab me? No. I mean, Bitwig Studio 4 maybe, but in some ways that's too big to talk about in a nugget size. But Mosaic then, because I have here, and that gives me an opportunity to talk about this fella. I have in my hands a Mosaic 1U tile. This one. I have not yet plugged it in. I've plugged it into this, which is interesting, but I have not yet plugged it into power, and I mean to do so. Cool, crikey, look at the back of that. That looks like I soldered it. Nice one. But I'm not talking about the Mosaic, I'm talking about the Sequencer, funnily enough. But yeah, so back in May, Mosaic, who are, I think, part of Qubit Electronics, they released or jumped onto the scene with a whole bunch of 1U modules. Now, what was interesting about it is that 1U tends to be, I mean, not entirely, but tends to be a little bit utility. What's 1U? It's this here. So normal Eurorack is 3U tool, 3U, and then some bright spark invented 1U to make sort of small little modules, and they tend to be small little utilities. You know, a mult, a generator of noise, you know, an LED, a little logic gate, low pass gate, you know, those kinds of things. And but then Mosaic came along and said, you know what, we're going to build a whole synth out of 1U modules. And so they did. So they've done oscillators, filters, envelopes, VCAs, the whole lot in 1U format. And this particular module I got here is a quantizer, but it's a quantizer also an arpeggiator, and pardon me, and what else? Oh, I don't know. So, yeah, that kind of thing. But what appeals about this is its orientation. Is the fact that it's now gone wide as opposed to tall, because, you know, normally speaking, I've got other quantizers and then this way round, and you've got a sideways keyboard like a piano roll, and that's okay, we can cope with that. And similarly here I've got the Sequencer from Tubitech, which, you know, it's a drum machine. You've got 16 lights going like this, you know, that's fine. But if it was this way around, then suddenly I've got a kind of a lot more playable keyboard and something that I will understand at a glance. And similarly, I've now got a drum machine going the right way. Now, of course, these could be 3U themselves. You just have a really big module. But what's brilliant about 1U is that it kind of just fits into a small space and can bring an awesome amount of added functionality. Now you're thinking, what on earth is this thing that he's holding it in, because it looks like 3U? It is. See, this from Exodes, I'm reliably told they're called, is a bracket which allows you to put, if I plug that in, this one, which allows you to put 1U into a normal rack space. Isn't that just the greatest thing ever? I think it's totally brilliant. Obviously I have these, I appreciate that, but my other case, my performance case, doesn't have any 1U slots in it at all. So this, I bought the size of it expressly for the Sixquencer, and it gives me space to put a few other things in, like I've got a little USB port here, which I haven't worked out how to power yet, because that's actually specific to an IntelliGel case, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of jiggery pokery to get it to work with something else. And I've got room down here for a couple of others as well, which is just interesting. And the fact that I'll have this in a busy rig and I'll be able to get into it in this orientation, it's totally awesome. So yeah, so back in May, Mosaic brought in a whole bunch of modules, and I think it's encouraged a whole move towards 1U. I mean, it takes a while for people to come up with modules. To develop and release a module takes quite a long time, I have to say. And so I think next year we're going to see an awful lot of 1U. It's going to be coming out of all sorts of places, because people are discovering it as being, actually, that's more useful than I thought. That's also going to affect the way we build cases, because it's only really IntelliGel that build 1U into their case. Well, Make Noise do too, I suppose. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and then hopefully innovative ways of adding a 1U strip to an existing case, because that could also be interesting. It is Digital Crickets. It is ace. It's absolutely ace. It is absolutely ace. I love it. So maybe tonight, in a little bit, I'll plug this into my case, pull out the ratchet that I had in there for doing some drums, and just see whether it'll work. Could be good. So right, let's crack on with this best of business then. And oh yeah, I was going to show you pictures. Oh yes, I was going to show you pictures of stuff. Sorry, you can just look at me. That's fine. You can imagine these things in your own mind. What's 180? VRL. Alexander, get a grip now. So Harry, they are Exodes are doing a 28 HP one. Yes. So I mean, in fact, it was one of the reasons why, because I've been umming and ahhing about the Sixquencer or the Steppy from IntelliGel. Actually, is it the Steppy? Steppy's that bit wider, and I was talking to Exodes about it, and they were going, oh well, we don't know whether we're going to do anything bigger than like 16 HP, and I persuaded them to do a 24, so they did that, so which would fit this perfectly. So I thought, sod it, I'm going to go for it. I'm doing the video now, I'm going to be doing it, I'll go for that, and that'll make my decision between the Steppy or this. But now, of course, he says he's doing a 28, which would have fitted the Steppy. But you can always get multiples of these. What you can't do, I discovered, and I thought you could to start with, I thought you could buy like a couple of 12s, 12 HP ones, and then run a module across it. But of course you can't, because you've got this bracket going down the middle of it, and you can't split your module in half. But anyway, so there are larger ones to come. Larger ones to come. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Grumpy. No, is that Grumpy? Oh, I don't know. I've also thought about why can't people make modules that you can just adjust the orientation of? Well, it's simply because the gap you have here, the amount of clearance you've got is really small. So you end up with quite a small width of PCB. So it's actually difficult to squeeze something the same functionality into something which is then going to be able to fit in 3U and 1U is quite difficult, I would say. Does that make sense? Particularly if you're talking about lots of knobs on the front, because this is not going to handle anything more than a single row of knobs. So, you know, it just depends, don't it? It just depends. Voltage Research Lab. Oh, right, thank you. Is that what this is? Because this is the Lifeforms Voltage Lab as opposed to the Voltage Research Laboratory. Oh, I don't know. Steppy is worth it. Yeah, I figured I'll probably end up with both. No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Cat Experience. What's my thought on sampling modules? The Squid, Bitbox, Assimilator. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what my thoughts are. I mean, if it's just as a sound source, I mean, that's one thing. What is interesting to me at the moment is the idea of looping and sound-on-sound looping. That's my mind has been a bit blown by that with Milo Melodies and the video he did on that recently. Also, Panic Girl did a video which using the Animoog Z, and used the looper in that. And used it in a way that I had just never thought of. And my mind just went, oh. So I've had a little bit of realization about looping, which is essentially sampling, and its usefulness in Eurorack. Very, very useful. But I don't think the interface is right. What I'd like to see is the kind of the looper, like 505 functionality within a smallish, within a modest size Eurorack module, because you only need, you just need sort of 4 or 5, well, 4 buttons. Make it 4 channel, 4 buttons, 4 inputs, 1 input. I don't know, a mix of inputs, mix of outputs, and just the ability to sync record, so you can then set up loops. I think could be interesting. Anyway, maybe that's for another time. Does those modules raise any heat inside the casing? Which modules in particular? Are you talking about the performance case? It's been too cold to know. Everything is far too cold that it doesn't get to the point of being hot. So that has not become an issue. Asdi, good to see you. Don't talk to me about looping in the disting. That's not going to wash with me. That's not an answer. If I wanted to do something with my eyes closed and both hands tied behind my back, then I'd get myself another disting. No, it's not a centrifuge. It's raining, right? And then it dribbles over there because my drain pipes are a bit crap. So over there it's dripping. But I could use that potentially as a clock, which would be interesting. Yeah, Loopy on the iPad is great. It's great, but I don't want to carry an iPad with me or another computer really if I can help it. So mosaic tiles for May. Yes, that's that. So June, what did we have? We had the Board Brain Music Optics, which I've talked about. We had the ASIO for All update. We had more stuff from Black Corporation, a whole load of stuff from Behringer that's never arrived. They talked about the RD9, the Swing. I think the Swing now has arrived. Controversial. The DS80, the UBXA, Brains. I have one. I have Brains. So I'm not going to talk about Brains because I've written a lovely review for Sound on Sound magazine. You need to read it in there, and it's not out yet. Once that's out, then yes, I can talk about it. But as for now, I can just show it to you. and say that yes, they sent this to me to review it for Sound & Sound magazine, and I have done so. You should be able to read that soon. I should think. There was some more synths from Traction, including Abyss, which was really nice. It's something I want to go back and have a look at. There was Strombox. Ah, yes, the Strombox was brilliant. So they made some boxes. I've got them over here. They're too big to carry into shot at the moment. But Strombox popped up. They're a picture framing company that someone in their staff was into Eurorack and said, why don't we make some cases? They looked into it and made some really boxy but quite nice looking cases. And the nice thing about them is that you could stack them up. You could have like one row, or have it in 2 rows, and then add another one and stack it up and bolt them together. And they're really quite nice. They sent me a whole bunch. I built them, put them together, and they're great. I have them sitting around here. I've got an entire ARP 2500, BARP 2500 down in this one. I'm still waiting for those bloody sequencers to turn up, and then that will feel like a finished unit. I'm trying to keep that as a separate thing. So that's something to look forward to. What else was there? Windows 11. Look at that. And the more fader from Bafako. Oh, I've still got to give that some time. Trouble at Moog. Other bits and pieces. So my favourite thing probably in that case for June would be the Strombox. Definitely. I mean, it's not the most extraordinary thing in the world. It's not, knocking other modular cases off the top of anything, but it's just good, simple, solid, not messing about. I like the way that you can start off with one sort of 6U thing and add to it, and it's not super wide. It's actually relatively narrow, which means you build up, which is, personally, I find that better than the other way. I do have one over here, funnily enough, that I can bring over for a quick look. Oh. Sorry, microphone. Which is this fella here. It's just simple laser cut MDF, I suppose, or veneered something or other. I don't know materials particularly. You have either sliding or threaded. It's cool. It's nice. I mean, this is just one of their 3U bits, but you can buy this in twice the height, and then stick another one on top, and then stick twice together, and it builds up really nicely as your system grows. Love it. You need your own power supply, but it does also come. No, not this one, but it can also come. This is the skiff version. This is the smaller version, narrower version. I mean, the deeper ones can carry much more, and they also have power supply holes in the back. Whereas this one, you just stick in some kind of power supply, and you're away. It's great. It's just neat, nice. It doesn't look like too funky. It doesn't look too retro. It's just it just pitched perfectly, I think, for a no mess solution. That's what we like. We like no mess, no fuss. Nicely made, nicely priced. I think they were expensive to start with, but they persuaded themselves to go a bit cheaper, which was good. So yeah. Aren't they Molten modules? Maybe. No, I got over that. I thought it was a great ruse at the time, but I'm sort of past it in some ways. Oh, there's still more beer in there. That's good. That's good. Right. How are we doing? Segregating Deckard and Rachel. Yes. Well, only because I don't know what to do with Rachel yet. I still don't know what she is. So I've got her in my... This is my immediate rack of stuff that I'm currently immediately playing with. So in my rack of immediate things I'm playing with, the Modbap Osiris. Doing a review of this for Gear News actually, and myself, and I'll do a video of it I'm planning to do one very soon, next week if I can. I'll see. Quite fascinating. So this and this, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with it. Excuse me. This is just for modulation. This is for sending a sequence in. This is for looking at the waveforms. This is for a bit of reverb because, well, again, it's wavetables, isn't it? So you need reverb desperately, so it's not just a clang, clangy, clang, clang. So, yeah, that's I'm writing reviews on this bits and pieces rig. That's not going to fall off there. You're not going to fall off there, are you? No. Good. Great. So that was June. How do you feel about that? All right? Yes. Yes. Initial thoughts on the Osiris then. It's... well, it's more of a reflection on my... how I feel about wavetables. Because... I sort of sat down with it going, wow, it's just plinky plonky, it's the same wow, the way wavetables go. More through the wavetables, more through the wavetables, that's great. So, I don't know, I'll stick a tune in it and then just morph through the wavetables. And you go, well, that's it. I'd much rather have a wave that I'm then filtering the heck out of and affecting stuff and things like that, rather than just morphing through the waveforms. I mean, we see that a lot with a lot of things, and I did a whole thing on it with the mod wave, the Korg mod wave, and it was great, and it got to a point that this is lovely and enjoyable and fun and all sorts of different things going on. But that's when you're using, in a polyphonic way, I think wavetable really sort of reveals itself. But with the Osiris, it's a single bleep at a time. You stick a keyboard in and you start playing it, go, well, it's just a bit, it feels weak and plonky until you take it a little bit more seriously. You have to take a step in, I think, to the world of wavetable, maybe, and it requires me to sort of put down my biases or put down my revulsion. Is that the right word? No. I have to get over myself, I guess, and start to explore what it is that people like about wavetables and what it is that starts to reveal itself about them. And then you need to put in some more purposeful modulation, not just sweep it, but think about how it changes over time, and not just put in a 4-note sequence and go, yeah, well, it's all right. Put in longer things. See how it changes as you change from 64 notes looping around, then changing a little bit, then another 64 notes loop round, then changing a little bit more. Then start exploring some of the timbre options and what they do and how you're pulling things apart. And you start to then notice that the sub is actually not attached to the rest of it. And you can start making the sub wander off on its own, which is interesting. Or bring that back in, and it can be different things, or it can be at different octaves. And then you can play those differently. And it's one of those things that over time you think, well, this is just a beautiful thing because it's so well put together. The movement between things is brilliant. Once you get to the point that your modulation is making some kind of sense as opposed to just arbitrary, it really starts to sound extraordinary. And you sort of think to yourself, or I thought to myself, that I'm always looking for variation. So I'm trying to make a sound, and then I'm looking to try to make the same sound differently somehow. Always looking to change things. How do you do that within Eurorack? How's the best way to alter something? And you can do that, you can have that almost moving constantly with a wavetable synth like Osiris, because it can be slowly moving or quickly moving or jumping to a different sound. So when it comes around again, it could be something else, and you can change it into something else. And that then becomes fascinating. So I've been on a bit of a journey of it, I have to say, which is why it's taken me a little bit of time to get to the point that I want to make a video. Because to start with, I thought, no, this is not going to go well. I'm not enjoying this. I don't think I can make a video. I don't like making bad videos about stuff. I'd rather just go, no, it's not for me. But it's now really grown on me, and I think it's amazing. And now my only concern is that I'm not sure I can do it justice. I'm not sure I have the dance music chops, because it often inhabits that sort of space, this sort of sound, I think. I don't know that I necessarily have the skills to craft in the perfect vibe, but who knows? I'm gonna have to give it a go, because ultimately I'm just an opinion expressing something about something, and those are always worthwhile in my view. So there you go. That was a mini review all of its own. Yeah, loading your own wavetables. There's a barrel of laughs. Oh yeah, that's something I want to spend my time doing. Cool. How many wavetables can I load? 1,024. Oh, fantastic. Well, here's one. I'll put that there. Look, here's another one. How many is that? It's 2. Right. Okay. Oh, look, here's another one. I've got 3 now. 3 waves in my wavetable. Right. There's another one. I've got a couple over here I can put in. Yeah, I don't see that as an enjoyable thing to spend my time doing. So yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about before we got there? Strombox. Okay, we did that. Right, moving on. July. Ooh, the Matrix mixer. Ooh, hey, that's sitting over there staring at me saying, "Use me again. Use me again." Maybe. Behringer released a whole load more other stuff that we haven't seen, so never mind. Things like the Polivox and the Syncussion, the MS5, the 4-play, the clock sequential sequencer, the 2600 VCO. Not seen any of these. They did release the modded out TR3. Interesting. Anyway, moving on. Memory Moog from Cherry Audio. The Mutuka from Rico Synth, yeah. Korg Modwave again, got a look. To the Polycinematic. Well, there we go. That's the one of the time. So the Nobular Polycinematic. I don't know if game changer is the right word. Sort of. Because it's not necessarily anything new. What Nobular seemed to capture in that particular module was just enough of the sort of sound that you would commonly use. It sort of covered half a dozen presets from any polysynth you could name. You know, you dial it in and it sounds a bit Juno-ish, it sounds a big paddy-ish, sounds a bit organ-like, those sorts of sounds, and they're instantly usable. You could use it in any track, in any situation. It's not massively, awesomely, tonally creative. It's just that wash or stab of sound that's always going to fit. And that for me is what really won it, I think, because it's so usable. So usable. And you can play it via MIDI for do chords, or you can store chords in it and then trigger those via CV, which was great. It's got a filter, envelope, just the bits that you need. Simple, looks beautiful, works really well, and I'm looking forward to using that a lot more. Its only flaw, sadly, is it's quiet. It's quiet compared to the rest of your rack, and that can be a pain in the ass sometimes. So I'm sort of working on that, massaging that to see what to do with it. Okay. Still no VCS3, you're referring to Behringer on that, Ken? Yeah, probably. No sign of anything. I mean, Behringer must have been hit massively by all of the supply problems and all of the everything problems. I mean, they're obviously a victim of their own problems, in as much as they announce too much and promise too much. And although I have every confidence that these things will eventually arrive, it doesn't do them any good, I think. I think you need to hold back. There's something awesome about revealing a product and it being for sale right there and then. I think there's a lot in that. These long form, oh look, we did a prototype of something that you're not going to see for 5 years. I don't know. I mean, what is going on with the RD9? What could they possibly have done to that RD9 to make it not available for so long? It's a bit crazy. Anyway, JX3D, hello. hello, we're on to August. What happened in August? More board brain stuff. Rico synth. Yeah. I liked all of that. Reason 12. That's a possibility. The sequential take 5, maybe. This was interesting because it was kind of unexpected. It was what you could almost call a cheap synth from sequential. Take 5, based loosely on the Prophet 5 and Prophet E5 bits in it, but it didn't. What it didn't do. Okay, well, what it did do was it offered a sequentially built, sequentially sounding polyphonic synthesizer, I think, for an attainable price. That meant that other people could unexpectedly, perhaps, potentially afford a sequential synth, which was really nice. All those things are immensely positive. On the downside, it just looked a bit generic. It had none of the class that you've come to expect from sequential gear, and I found that quite frustrating. I mean, I guess if you look at the Pro 3, there's the Pro 3 and there's the Pro 3 Special Edition. When you think of the Pro 3, you tend to think of the Special Edition version, the version with the wooden sides, the version with the hinged front panel. Whereas the Take 5 was more like the stock standard Pro 3, you know, a bit more grey and plastic and such like. But I was just quite disappointed by the look of it, and that really coloured my view of it. Because it felt like I could get that sequential sound, something built by sequential, but it would just sit there not looking, you know. I mean, I would buy a Prophet 5 because it looks like a Prophet 5, not because it has the best, greatest sound in the world. I mean, it sounds as good as many other things, I'm sure, but it's a fucking Prophet 5. Look at the thing. Look at it. Take 5, nah. And besides, it's Take 5, which is that track. That's a bit sort of crap. And they turned the E on the end of Take into a little keyboard, which is just, stylistically void of any kind of merit. Just go, oh no. Am I supposed to wear a piano tie in order to play this thing? Good Lord. What is what? We can do it. What is what? What? It is a chocolate bar as well, yeah. I don't think that helps. Okay. Did I miss a conversation point? Something about fixing design flaws. Oh, I see. So you talk about stuff that gets unveiled and it's in the shops now. Yeah, but I don't necessarily see the value in crowdsourcing design ideas. I know it can feel nice if you're a punter to be asked your opinion on something, but I don't necessarily think we're the best people to ask. I think if you're designing products, I mean, of course you listen to feedback, of course you listen to your customers, absolutely, yes. But when you're designing a product, the design idea needs to come from somewhere. I think if you crowdsource an idea, it just becomes more and more generic. It becomes more and more a bit of everything, as opposed to you've got to, there has to be someone who is leading the design on something and has a vision and an idea for it and wants to push through on those sorts of things. Pick up ideas on, oh yeah, I wish it had a USB-C port as well as a USB-A or that kind of thing. But you would also use beta testers, as somebody else said, to try a few things out and to try different ways. And that's not always going to pick up the best things either. Why was I thinking on this? Oh yeah, I mean, it is true. I get it. But it's like I was playing a board game today and yesterday with my kids called Root, which is a beautiful board game, but it's it's complicated. It's not complicated. It's explained complicatedly in the manual. And I was sitting there thinking, why doesn't... I mean, surely they had people play through this before they released it. And wouldn't they... Because we just coming up against questions. You know, what do we do here? What does this mean? What does it mean if this person does that? And there didn't seem to be any easy way to find those answers out. And you would have thought that if somebody had actually played through it and asked those questions, those are the sort of questions they should stick in the manual, which they didn't. But anyway, so is it the same? Is it the same? I don't know. I mean, it's like I could reflect it back onto... You see these shirts? See, this is a lovely shirt from Blake Hill. Blake Hill designed some gorgeous shirts. Some, you know, dodgy shirts, but one or two gorgeous ones. Then they started asking customers who are on their mailing list, which ones should we do next? And they gave like a, you know, here are 10 shirts. Which ones do you like? And we'll produce the top ones. And ever since then, their shirts have gone massively downhill because they've lost all their originality. Because people pick kind of the more conservative, the less interesting ideas. It's like, don't crowdsource, man. Have a vision. Go with your vision. Design a product, and then it's either good or it's bad, depending on how people react to it, I suppose. So, you know, Mr. Blake Hill out there, just, you know, I loved some of your designs. Do those. Don't go to the lowest common denominator and release a shirt that everybody wants. No, you need to tell us what we want, you know. But then now I'm contradicting myself because I was saying that Sequential produced the Take 5, which I thought looked a bit crap. Whereas they should be dictating what I believe is a good-looking synthesizer. But then that's the problem, because I've got a bloody brain and an opinion, haven't I? So Sequential are absolutely right. They shouldn't come to me to ask me what they should produce as a synthesizer. They should do what they have a vision for. I'm just not convinced that there was a vision for the Take 5 that was particularly awesome. It's not supposed to make sense. I'm not saying anything that's ever supposed to make sense. But look, I can pick randomly out of the chat. And Andrew says, very true. So he's obviously responding to me. Oh, they're still talking about the weather. Oh, for heaven's sake. Anyway, I'll just skip on down a bit. Skip on down. Andrew, no worries, mate. Take it easy. Do what you got to do. See you later. What time is it? It's flipping 10 to 10. Right, come on, let's get on with it. Who are you? We can do it. Do we care? What are you talking about? What's your purpose in life, man? What are you doing on a Sunday night? Wanking about in somebody else's chat? What are you about? Weird. Anyway, so did I do August? Yeah, the Take 5. So September, we're getting there now. Okay, so this, coming back to Sequential, they did an expansion for the Prophet 5 because it's 2 layers and 10 voices. What a great thing to do, to reintroduce the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 10, and then to expand it and update it so that you can split it into 2 layers and make it bitimbral. Fantastic. Absolutely glorious thing to do. It really does show that despite the Take 5 nonsense, that they are thinking and they do have a vision and they have interesting things to bring stuff up, you know. Right. Okay. Just go easy in the chat, you know. There's no need for all these capitals. What's up with you, Caesar Day? Anyway, I don't want to get distracted by stuff. So, September, the Prophet 5 expansion was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thanks. Right, okay. Where are we then? October. Arturia Mini Fuse. The Universal Audio Volt. The Rhodes Mark 8. Yeah. Okay, so for, I don't know about you, I feel quite miffed. I feel quite annoyed. That's a shame. We were all rocking along, and then someone just comes along and is a bit of a dick. I don't know. I don't understand that. It just boggles my mind. It's like, oh, screw it. Why are we bothering? Oh, because there's 100 other really nice people out there watching, who are hopefully having a nice time. Okay. Go easy there in the chat. Just chill. Let's just take a moment. Let's take a moment. I'm going to finish this cupful. So, October then. Well, the Rhodes Mark 8 has already jumped out at me because I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing. Now, I know that there's a company in America called, Real Piano something. I can't remember. Retro Piano Ultimate. Anyway, there's a company in America that builds Rhodes pianos, electric pianos. And they're as good as you're going to get to the real thing. However, Rhodes Music has been reinvented, rebought, rejigged, and they've been working on the Mark 8. Which has just been a complete revelation. I mean, the weird thing about a Rhodes piano, to me, and the thing I didn't fully grasp, is that it's an electromechanical machine. It's not a digital piano. When we think electric piano, we tend to think, digital piano, a Roland RD something. Or a Korg digital piano, a stage piano. They're called grand or something along those sorts of lines, because they would have Rhodes pianos built into them. Electric piano sound always comes out of those large weighted electric pianos. But an actual electric piano is an electroacoustic mechanical instrument. You've got hammers hitting bits of metal going doing, doing, and that's amazing. That's totally amazing. And I kind of forget that whenever you see pictures of Rhodes pianos. You don't see the bulk of it always. You just tend to see the front panel and the keys, and that's the bit you focus on. So these are actually got real machines in there doing stuff, which is amazing. I mean, they don't have much of a sound by themselves. It needs to be picked up and amplified. But they are physical machines. And for someone to come along and reintroduce that, I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's the right time to do it because we're all madly in love to the point of fetish on vintage gear. And so I would love to have a proper real Rhodes piano. That would be amazing. So I could use it in my tunes? No, just so it would sit there and look amazing. And I could sit at it and play it and feel amazing doing so. That would be it. It's just purely for the joy of it. It is a bit expensive, and it will be more expensive than that American firm, as I say, that I can't remember the name of, that does something similar. But it would be just such an object of beauty. Now, I think, I can't fully confirm, because we haven't really ironed out the details, but I have penciled in a trip up to the Leeds factory in, next week? The week after next. Yeah, pickups like electric guitar. Yeah, that's right. I think. So I'm planning to go up to the factory, hopefully. I need to iron out the details. I'm going to take a camera, a light, maybe, microphone, and see if I can do a little bit of it seems crazy, to do a review of the Rhodes Mark 8. I mean, I'm no piano player, really. I'm no expert on these things, but I do love that sound. And I think it would be fascinating to have a walkthrough of what it's about, from a stupid person's perspective, which is my perspective. I'll ask the stupid questions, hopefully, if I'm feeling brave enough. and then to play it and record playing it and record my reaction to it and how I feel about it. And I think that could be interesting. I mean, I'm very excited about the whole idea. It's a long way to drive. Take about 4 or 5 hours to get there. But hey, we'll give it a go. It sounds like a very mellow and quiet glockenspiel. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it's totally customizable. You can have sparkles on it. Brilliant. The effects, but you've got to have the effects, I think, built in. It's really nice. See, was that a Fender Rhodes that Ray Charles was playing? The bit that they pulled a bit off the side of? I suppose so. Because it's not, I mean, it's mechanical, as I say, but it's not massively deep. I mean, obviously the suitcase one is the size of a suitcase. I know I didn't mention the Captain Big O. That was last month. That was, let me have a look. I saw it and I thought about it. That was July. And instead I spoke about the Polycinematic. So, you know, it's up against a Polycinematic. It's quite hard work, really. But yeah, they're pretty cool. So October, Rhodes. November. Do I have December on here? Have I done December? No, of course I haven't. So this month, have I got to pick a thing of the year? No, I don't think I can be bothered with that. Well, the most impressive looking thing this month was the Midify Matrix. Crazy thing. This big frame of 16 by 16 light up illuminated buttons which became a matrix sequencer for, I don't need a matrix controller for an existing small desktop sequencer. I just thought the whole concept was brilliant because it was like software realized into hardware, which can sometimes be really, really interesting. And it was just beautifully done. And essentially you just tap on the things and it becomes a sequence, and you can use it for other things, for modulation, use it as an isomorphic keyboard. Lots and lots of interesting things you can do with that. So I really enjoyed seeing that, writing about it, talking about it. I think it's a great piece of work. Really, really nice. Anything else? Oh yeah, well, Rossum, I suppose. Rossum Electro Music bringing back the SB1200. That's very interesting. It's sort of an old drum machine sampler thing with bugger all sampling time, a crunchy engine, and hardly any controls. Ace, that's just what we like. But apparently they're massive and they're going to sell by bucket loads. Not really my thing, I have to say, particularly. So, Vcv Rack 2, yes, that's a good one. That's obviously going to be in December's edition, but that was a really great thing to see. They've been working on that for so long, and people have been moaning about the lack of VST support for so long, so it's really great to see them finally get there as a plug-in version, but also the improved standalone version, which is great. No, VCV1 was never bad, I agree, but I found the browser really troublesome. So I'm looking forward to that, to the improvements of that. I have looked at it a little bit, but not a huge amount. So great. And so the ability to use it as a plugin within a DAW, I think is great. I don't necessarily think it's something that I would ever use in a DAW situation. I'm quite happy to play with it on its own by itself, and that has a lot of merit to it. But it's an awesome invention. I love the fact that it exists at all. I think it's extraordinary, and Andrew, who's the developer behind it, has just done an immense job on it, and under a lot of pressure, I think, because there's a lot of users. When something picks up a lot of users and they get a bit devoted, the pressure to keep on doing extraordinary things and to make the changes that everybody bloody wants is difficult. It's really hard, I think, to keep everybody happy in that sort of situation. So, hi Flea, we're chatting about music technology. That's what we do. So I mean, it's 10 o'clock. Yeah, the IK Uno Synth Pro, I don't think it's a great looker either, which is a shame, but apparently it sounds really good. Yeah, okay. VCV Rack 2, best thing of the year? Could be. Could be. Could be. No, see, Waldorf M, it's all kind of wavetables again, isn't it? And I didn't see that come up in my my list of stuff. Yeah, interesting. All right, so that was our roundup then of the year of things month by month. Was an interesting way to look at it, just to chat about stuff. Get the case out, says Ken. Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm thinking now. I'm just going to try to set up the case. Going to try to make some music on it. That might take a little bit of effort on my part, but I think that'll be a good way to finish off because. Yeah, try not to feel narked by the universe. But so yeah, let's do that, and that will hopefully soothe our fettered, rotted minds. Now I might even be able to get the Tubatech working without having to look at anything. What do you reckon? I mean, there's got a function button. It's got to be simple, right? Got to be simple. Right, need to create some space, so if you excuse me, I'm going to try not to knock the camera too much. We're just going to move it over here slightly. So, yeah, a bit like that. And I'll set it up here. So it's honestly not set up at the moment. So I need to put this out of the way. I've got a spare beer. Decard stream update. I just did a whole bunch of capacitors on all the voice boards. I did that on Friday as a little birthday treat to myself. So I've just got to finish the capacitors. I'm going to want to do that, and I can stick another video up of that being done. So that'll be good. I'll do that. Hopefully I'll try that next week. Ugh. Ooh. And then well, then it's another step closer to being finished. That's all I can say. God, I really am trusting this. I mean, it would be awful if it just all fell apart, wouldn't it? Right, so look. Jellies. Jellies, nice. Molten Modular, upside down. Nice. Right. Which is up? Oh, it's this way around. Let's try not to squash anything. Got modules in the way. This fella here, right? Fantastic. One of my favourite modules that I've been meaning for probably a couple of years to do a proper video on. But every time I think of doing it, what's his name? Finn from Omnisonic, not Omnisonic now, of course, from Stochastic Instruments, gives me a shout and says, "Oh right, yeah, we're gonna upgrade your Stochastic to the new one." I go, "All right, great, that's great." And then it doesn't quite happen, or something else happens, or they run out of bits, or this or the other, and so it's like, oh right, so. All I mean is that I don't then manage to get a video done, and it gets knocked on the old schedule. But good news is that it's coming along. It's coming along, and I should be sending it back to them next week, and they will upgrade it and add the expander, and I'll hopefully be able to get more out of it than I currently do, which will be great because it's an ACE module. Right, is this the right power supply? I forget. So I'm going to need. I need something. Hang on. What is that? That's not it. There we go. That'll do. I need a two-prong. Okay, so when I plug this in, it all might all go fut, and I'm sorry if it does. Hey. Okay, good. So we have something going on. Is that in focus for you? Yeah, I think that is. I think that is. But what I want to do is a couple of things. So what do I want to take out? All right, so I'm going to do a bit of shifting around already. I'd like to do a video on the Queen of Pentacles at some point because it's an intriguing module that I've just never got the best out of. But because I never got the best out of it, I'm not going to do that now. So I'm going to take out this section. I'm going to stick in my 1U section and maybe the noise plethora and Perkle to run some drums. I think I might do that. Let's do that. In which case I've got to unplug it again. Yeah. Right. So, bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. And we will... Oh, that's a nice long one. We will get to this. Oh heck. Right. It's going to be a little bit tricky. Right, so let's give this a go. Now I built the noise plethora just last week. You might have seen me doing some live stream soldering, and it was on this earlier in the week or later in the week, and it was a good build. I mean, it was a toughie, but I got there. Such an old pro these days. I'll have a video on that out shortly. I think it's released tomorrow. So I did hope to have the video finished by then, but I haven't. I just haven't had the opportunity to edit it down. So it'll be out in the next day or two. But I haven't done any demos on it yet. But again, I saw Mile of Melodies doing this exact thing. And I'm going, flipping heck, that's extraordinary. I'm going to have to give that a go. So that's what I'm doing. Giving that a go. Right now. Right now. Alexander, I would mind because it takes a load of time that I don't really have, to be honest. And the thing is with Modular Grid and sharing those, it's forever changing, which means I'm having to be back on Modular Grid all the time, changing it again. So I do try. I mean, if you look for me on there, I think I'm there as Robin V00, I think. You'll find some relatively recent configurations of my rig, but I don't really have the time to sit down and map it out like that. All right. So and I don't use it to patch. I patch just what I feel like doing. I don't sit down with Modular Grid and formulate any kind of plan. I have certainly looked on there a number of times to do things when I'm thinking about stuff, but it doesn't ultimately become a tool that I use for planning anything. Right, this isn't normally how I would do it. I don't think I'd normally plug in a bunch of modules without doing them one at a time and checking that they work, etc. Still, never mind. Let's just go with it. So this is the first time I'm plugging in the sequencer and the quantizer. So this is quite exciting. So hopefully, I've got to be a bit careful of these gaps because I don't have any blanking plates. And I've become a little bit aware because I usually have flying cables. Everything else I've got flying bus cables, and they tend to look after themselves. You know, the chances of actually dropping something into one of those that will short it out is really low. But on these, it's sitting up looking at me, and it's like, oh, if I drop something in there, that's just going to go boom. Not into that particularly. So I need to certainly think. I always wondered why people had those blanking plates, and now I understand. Now I understand. Cool. There's a couple more. I found some Nurlies, by the way. I thought I'd run out the other day. I thought it was like, no way can I be running out of Nurlies. Not again. Can't be possible. And I hadn't. I just lost a bunch. They'd hidden away under something. So I am fully populated again. Okay, let's turn this thing on. See if I can get something out of these fellas. Okay, easy now. Good. Now, where's my sound going to come from? Sound is going to come from this thing here. Oops. Which hopefully I can plug in to here. Get that? Good. That's coming out of there. Not making any sound. If I turned it down, that's why. So, oh look, nice lights. Clock in. Guess it's going to need a clock. I've got a clock. That's a clock in. So that's coming from somewhere. That's a clock. That's going to there. Good, good. Right, this one. What's that going to? Going to that step sequencer. Alright, I'm not going to use that for now. So let's bring this over here. It's running along. Look at it run along. Look at it. Let's take an output from there. Plug it into my Luton. Can you hear that all right in video land? You hear that? Yeah, no, I get it with the blanking plates making it look full, yes. So this is the noise plethora with a lot of reverb on it. Let me just turn that down a little bit. Now the idea of this is it's just packed full of noise, so you've got different noise types. Which you could then potentially turn into things. So, did I use up all my cables? No, I didn't. Okay, so I could take the output, plug it into, trying to remember how to use the Percle, there, then mix output into there. Come on, I know this thing. Then I can take kick drum out, I think, plug that into CV's envelope outs, trigger. So is this really, do I just put them in? Yeah, look at that. this is going to be brilliant. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take another noise output from the second channel. Put that in there. Then I assume I go snare drum, yeah, or whatever. Gosh, how the heck does this work? Quantizer, it's going to take something in and throw it out. So, what am I thinking? I'm going to take down a hole. Tricky. Feels like there's something needs to happen. It's just I don't know what that is. I don't know how to make that happen. It needs to sort of go, ooh, but I have nothing with lips to make that happen. You know what I mean? gosh. Well, that's better. I feel exhausted but rejuvenated. Sorry about the microphone. So that's good. That's the wonderfully healing and restorative nature of messing around with music. At least I called it music. Something along those lines. So thanks ever so much. It's really late now, and I'm sorry about that. Gone on for ages, but I enjoyed that tremendously. Not a whole lot more to say on that. The plethora and the Perkle, that's a great combination. Yeah. I'm still looking for that kick. I still need a thunderous kick somewhere that I can bring in. It has to be something that I can do that with. It doesn't require me having everything else turned down to 1 and just the kick very high, because the kicks I have either in the Pico drums or in the Queen of Pentacles are just so low. I haven't worked out how to make them come in. Got to discover that somehow. So the little six squincer, yeah, it does exactly what I thought it would, pretty much. Intuitive, easy. The only slight niggle I've got is that the patch sockets aren't exactly above the selected name. Just because it's small. But yeah, you've got 16 steps, you can write something in. Brilliant. Percussion. Away. Good. Awesome. No fuss, no mess. The quantizer, didn't understand that at all until just the end there, and then discovered that that's pretty beautiful, and I could definitely use that. And that's something, it's exactly what I hoped it would be, in that it's something playable to some degree with an arpeggiator in there, which you could use just to solo or transition or move from one piece to another. It's a little bit of an outlandish purchase, I think, for that one particular function, but I just couldn't seem to find anything else that would do it easily. And I felt that in this one-use space, having a couple of things here, that you can't really see, in this little 1U adapter that were playing things, so the drum programming and playing of the arpeggiator, I think could really work. And I think it has, so I like that. I like that a lot. And again, it throws doubt on whether I need the black sequencer in here or not. Maybe I'd be better off with other little bits and pieces to create movement, rather than something which is programmed in there, if you know what I mean. Don't know. Anyway, I found things, I think, discovered things. I wish I had something to change the notes on the Honor, which was playing the same note all the way through. Got to think about that some more. Lots to think about. This is an evolving, changing, ever-changing, ever-moving object, which I'll see where it gets to next. It's like the beads was in there, but did I know what it was doing? No, I didn't. I couldn't. My mind or my ears couldn't lock into what on earth it was doing. But then I can't remember what these two knobs here is one reverb and one wet dry mix. I couldn't remember, and moving them didn't seem to help. So I don't know. Magneto, again, great big thing. What is it doing? I don't know. Half the time I don't know, and it seemed to get better whenever I pulled it out. That's the thing, some of these modules, things like Beads, things like Magneto, kind of operate best on their own, just using that and nothing else. Maybe that's what I need to think about. Don't know. Anyway, there you go. That's enough. That's plenty. Thanks for sticking around, those of you who had. Where was the bass drone from? It was from an Honor oscillator, this one up here, from Nano Modular. It's lovely. I'd like another one. I'd like to get another one at some point so I can run two of those together. It does have a lovely sound. I like it all the time. Pittsburgh Modular has a new kick, does it? Okay. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, guy from Russia. And Tom, thank you. Lovely. Kirksos, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I have some more beer left. I'll go and drink it in bed. I've got to go. Got to get up. 6:15 in the morning. Get the kids up for school. Which is something my wife normally does because she gets up because she's a teacher. She usually gets the kids up that early, and I get up at 7. But I've got to get up a bit earlier tomorrow. No disting. Aha. Great. Yeah, first time with that 1U quantizer. Yeah, and I hadn't read the manual or anything, as you could probably tell. So I'm going, why doesn't it do anything? And then I did get the arpeggiator to work. So definitely holding that button seems to tell me something. I'm a bit disturbed by, there's a lot of movement in these buttons. But anyway, I'll look at that in a lot more detail soon. Very, very soon. Cool. Right, good night then. Thank you. Pick and place. Yeah. Cool. Right. Thanks. Take it easy, and in the meantime, blah 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 blah. Coming up. Oh, stuff. Stuff is coming up, and it will be along soon. Thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye.